This episode of Family Trips is brought to you by the all-new 2025 Nissan Armada. Take your adventures to new heights. Learn more at nissanusa.com.
Here we go.
Hi, Bashi.
Hi, Sufi.
Oh boy, did I have a trip.
Oh, yeah, you did. Oh, man.
A family trip, no less.
Yeah, indeed.
So, as Dad got elective foot surgery because he did not feel like one of his feet looked the way he wanted it to look.
Right. He wanted a pretty foot, we've established.
He wanted one pretty foot. So, anyway, Mom has been, bearing a great weight being a caregiver to Dad.
Sure.
And I wanted to go visit them. You went and visited them.
I did.
And you had a lovely time.
I sure did, yeah. It was great.
I decided to take Addie with me.
Uh-huh.
And I should know, the first thing I said to Addie was, do you want to go visit the Ponkas? And she said no. And then I figured, okay, that's fine. I'll just go on my own. And then I left to bring the boys to school, and Alexi sent me a video. As soon as I left, Addie went up to her room, took out her little rolling suitcase, which was her Christmas present this year, unzipped it, and put 12 dresses into her suitcase. And Alexi said, what are you doing? And she said, I'm going to go visit the Ponkas. And Alexi said, you're only going for one night. And she said, no, I am going to go for 8 nights. So
wow.
She packed 11 dresses. Anyway, she was very excited. Then there was an issue, which is this was a very last-minute trip. And so I did not have time to properly prepare the boys for the fact that I was taking their sister to see their grandparents.
Right. Yeah.
And I'd gone and gotten her a sticker book at Barnes & Noble for the airplane because I knew that she would not be allowed to watch a video or anything like that.
Uh-huh.
So I was, got activities. And then I foolishly left it out on the table. And so we were leaving the next morning, and Axel saw this sticker book, and I said, oh, no, that's for the plane. And he was like, who's going on a plane? And I said, oh, I'm taking Addie to see the Ponkas. And immediate two-boy meltdown.
Yeah.
Axel screaming, and then Ash just sitting and silently crying. The difference in their personality is fantastic. And Ash was silently crying, just saying, I also love my grandparents. And Axel screaming, Alexi like rocking him while he screamed, and Addie, no help at all, just walked over and patted him on the knee and said, Axel, you can't come. Axel, you can't come. And he was just making it way worse. But then next morning, credit to Alexi, she had managed to sort of calm them down. They'd come to terms with it. Mm-hmm. And Addie and I went to the airport. Having her in the airport alone, worth the price of admission.
Oh, I bet.
Little backpack, rolling suitcase, a million questions, never stopped talking. I felt I maybe got more recognized than I've ever been recognized just because I was talking more than I'm ever talking in an airport because I just constantly had to answer questions. And then we got on the airplane. Not a lot of people on our flight from New York to Boston. Kayla was the name of the JetBlue flight attendant. She came over and said, hi, Adelaide. And Addie was like, how's she know my name? Obviously, she just sort of done this, read the manifest for the purposes of the kids on the plane, gave her little airplane wings.
Wings.
They stick on now. They no longer pins. They stick them on. She's thrilled about that. I would say she then asked for Kayla or screamed for Kayla 50 times over the course of the 45-minute flight.
What did she want from her?
Just say hi.
Just convo.
Then she also wanted snacks.
Yeah.
Kayla made the mistake of saying, maybe I'll be back later with some snacks, at which point Addie was pretty dead set on knowing her location at all times.
Yep.
When we landed, I had to let everybody deplane because Kayla was in the back of the plane because Addie wanted to go run and give her a hug.
Oh, I bet that was met with some enthusiasm and joy.
Kayla got her money's worth for the wings she gave Addie. Right. For the wings and a chewy granola bar, she did very well as far as the affection she got in return. Then we walked up. The cockpit was open. Addie walked right in there, talked to the pilots for a while. Then we obviously we got a car.
Did she ask the pilots why they say which direction the wind is coming from and what the visibility is like.
She who want to know that? Who want to know that?
No one wants to know that.
Yeah. So then, but the best is, again, we were surprising Dad. So it was not his job to be where we needed him to be. He had lunch plans.
Yep.
We got home, got to hang out with Mom for a little bit. He was also having lunch with an old friend, so we didn't want to go right away and sort of ruin that.
Right.
And so about an hour into Dad's lunch, we went to the restaurant. My plan was I would walk in, surprise Dad, while Addie hung back with Mom. And I just said, just wait a minute. And then I'll say to Dad, within a minute, I'll be like, I'm actually not the surprise. And then Addie would walk in. Addie was not having this. Addie very much felt that she should surprise Dad first.
Yeah, she's the tip of the spear.
She's the tip of the spear. And so, and the amount of my life with Addie right now is her being like, you wait here. Meanwhile, my boys have never wanted me to wait. They've never wanted to go anywhere without me.
Uh-huh.
The amount that she's like, you wait here. Even when we were at the airport, she wanted to take the escalator without me. She goes, you get on when I'm at the top. I'm like, no, it's not how this is going to work. So Addie walks in. You've seen the video.
I have seen the video. What I don't understand in the video is, did she know where Dad was going to be? Because there were a bunch of people in there.
No.
And his back was to her. And she never had a doubt. It was like she locked on with some targeting thing. And
it's crazy. It's a crowded restaurant. She immediately walks over to Ponkayeri, as he's known by his grandchildren, and by the listeners of the pod at this point, let's be honest. So she walks over. But the best thing is the amount that, Kayla, the flight attendant, would say, where are you going? I got to go see Ponkayeri. And it's just like crazy words. So she walks over and Dad looks at her and he goes, hey, but you can tell he can't make any sense of it.
Yeah, I spoke to him and he's like, I knew right away it was Addie, but it there was a cognitive break because he couldn't figure out how it was possible that this 3-year-old girl, his granddaughter, was standing next to him.
Without an adult.
Right.
So then he goes, hey. And then he looks around and he sees me because I'm at the door of the restaurant filming it.
Right.
And then he processes and he looks at her and goes, whoa. And then he says, this is my granddaughter. And it's a big hug. Anyway, I showed the video. The boys have watched the video 50 times. And they all day were walking around going, hey, whoa. So that was just A+. Dad was so excited. And then, it was just 24 hours. But, having a kid in your childhood home is very special.
Yeah.
Even though my bedroom is now an office that also had a pipe burst. And so you really can only just look at it from the doorway.
But yeah, you guys did a bunch of stuff. You went to a playground. You went to the library.
Went to the playground. Give it up for Hurry, who got on every single dumb thing built for children that Addie insisted she get on. There was like a bumblebee thing that you sort of rock back and forth.
Great picture.
And Hurry had to get on a bumblebee. She had to get on a spaceship. She had to walk around.
Uh-huh.
Dad was moving around pretty well, but he couldn't go in the snow because of his foot. And I took a picture of Dad and Albert. Did I send it to you?
I think so, yeah, in the car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Albert looks more like Dad than either of us.
Albert, I will say, the Old English sheepdog, I didn't tell you this before, but when I got home, I pulled in and Mom let Albert out the front door so he could come and greet me. And Albert and I have a pretty good thing going on. We like each other very much. And he was so excited and he was like squeaking and, those little excited cries. And then he turned around and I was scratching his butt and he just threw up because he was so excited. He threw up his breakfast and then seemed a little stunned, but then just ran towards the house, towards Mom and Dad. It was, it was quite the greeting.
She had this thing where she kept walking over to Albert's dog food bowl and she would bring it over to where he was and sit it down And then he would just eat the whole bowl, and then she would pick it up and bring it. And they were like, he never does this. He only eats when he's hungry. And I'm like, do you ever bring the food over to wherever he is?
Yeah, I mean, well, in their defense, they put his dog food down, and if he wants to eat it, he can eat it.
Right, of course.
Yeah.
Lot of hide and seek. Not a ton of hiding spots in our childhood home, but
well,
there's a lot
from
of
the 2 pictures I saw, pretty easy hiding spots. Addie in the tub, just with her head
covering
down.
her head.
Yeah.
And then Dad in his shower with a towel over his head, but also Albert sitting next to him.
Yeah.
We were saying the key about hide and seek when you're trying to find Dad is just look for wherever Albert is, because Albert will not leave his side.
Yeah.
Definitely planned on Addie was going to sleep in your bed. And I was going to sleep in the guest room. Addie felt very strongly about this. She did not want me to sleep in bed with her. You have the biggest bed. Well, Mom and Dad. You have a queen.
Sure.
And also, she's never slept in a bed before, and I kind of thought middle of a queen, best chance she's not going to roll over. I could put pillows on either side of her.
Yeah.
So I had a plan. And she tells you when she's ready for bed, which is shocking. But she's like, it is time for books and bath and bed. And so I was very excited because mostly I wanted to catch up with Mom and Dad as well. And so I get her into bed, and the minute I think I get her into bed, she's definitely has anxiety about, I don't know this bedroom. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And also, you don't have curtains.
They're like little wispy things. They're not like, it wasn't my choice to have those.
No, but it was
like
not.
lace
It was not
curtains.
built to block out light.
Correct.
And so it was way brighter than she's used to. And so she's like, don't leave, don't leave. And so the one time I left because I thought I was like, I'm going to leave now and you're going to fall asleep and everything's going to be good. And I went down and I said to Mom and Dad, like, so I think she's good and I'm not sure. And like literally, I think she had just followed me out like as I left. And she's in a sleep stack too, which is like a hard thing to move in. Like she looks like a sack of potatoes. And like, I'm like, I think she's asleep. And she's like, Dad, I want to talk to you. So finally got her to fall asleep, which is great. And then I had a nice time with Mom and Dad. But then we also, went out, had lunch.
Yeah.
Like you said, library. And it was probably only, 24 hours in the house, but it was a jackpot. In that way, but we've talked to guests about how kids remember things. Like she's really, really going to remember this trip.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's fun. There's lots of little drawers and cupboards and things in our house.
Not a drawer with my baseball cards. Now, again, there's a high likelihood that Mom and Dad sent me my baseball cards, which they shouldn't have done because I don't have a place for them. They have so much empty space. I had one file cabinet that had all my comic books and all my baseball cards.
Yeah.
They wanted, for some reason, they got it in their head that I couldn't have a file cabinet in the home. They sent me all my comic books. I kept them in the basement of my apartment where we have a storage facility, flooded, ruined.
Yeah. Yeah.
But heaven forbid, now they're living a full life of retirement because there's not a one black file cabinet, two drawers. And then I'm like, I knew exactly where to look, and it's like not even there.
Yeah.
And then, as you found out, I said, well, I'll go check the attic. Nothing's in the attic.
All gone. We had a box full of all of our old stuffed animals up there. Where are those? Although I did see your stuffed animal, Popsicle, is I believe still in your closet.
Popsicle's survival is really truly something to see.
Yeah.
I think if you checked his belly, it would look like he's eaten 1,000 moths.
He's hungry for moths.
And, hey, shout out to Mom and also Dad. Dad said, because there's not a lot of two-way traffic where both directions are praise with Mom and Dad.
Oh, yeah.
But Dad said Mom's been an incredible caregiver. And she said, thank you. And he goes, she goes, and you've been a very good patient. And I was very, because I do think he maybe wasn't that fussy.
Did you get a look at that foot?
It's beautiful. Oh, it's like Angelina Jolie's foot, 1995. I guess that's the picture he gave him.
Yeah.
Just gorgeous. We ate off it.
He was talking about how he wanted to send a picture of that foot, and I just don't know that you can publish it.
I mean, I think a lot of perverts online would love to get their eyes on that foot.
Oh, man. I was giving him a hard time about his foot, and he's like, show me your foot. And like, my foot looks like I have a nice foot. And I took my sock off, and he was like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say both mom and dad have less toes, more talons. Would you say that's? I mean, Addie, we're giving dad's foot a lot of grief. Addie spent a lot of time asking mom about her toes and why they go in the directions they go.
Yeah, it's a fair question, and I don't think Curry's got an answer for it.
No. The future, based on genetics, the future of our toes are not good.
Yeah.
I'm going to start wearing metal. I'm going to try to do they do Invisalign for feet? I should do that now. Just like preventative.
Yeah, like the equivalent of like Forrest Gump leg braces, but for your toes. Yeah.
Mom's toes, it's like somebody ran in and said, everybody scramble.
Well, yeah. She's like the scene from Forrest Gump where they fall off, the braces fall off, and then the toes.
Yeah, they wouldn't. Yeah, no braces could hold her feet. Well, I guess this has been a little side pod called Foot Talk.
If you're into that sort of thing, you're welcome. If you're not,
apologies to this week's sponsors.
Yeah,
we're gonna get right up against some pretty bad visuals. But then, Addie, flight home, great. She was so good. Also, she took two things. There was a Muppets baby. These aren't from our youth. I feel like mom just still buys chintzy things at like garage sales and stuff. There was a little Roadrunner toy and a little Kermit Muppet baby toy.
Okay.
And Addie mom said she could have them. And the entirety of the flight home, Addie was just talking to them and playing with them. And it was so great because I was fully cooked.
Yeah. Well, that's great. I'm glad you guys got up there.
I'm glad too. And it's wonderful. And now, of course, both boys want to go and they both want to go on their own. So this is backfired. But they might go together. I would like to get them there together. I think they'd have fun.
You could just send them on their own too. You could unaccompanied minor them.
Yeah. All right, dude. We got a podcast for people to listen to.
Yeah.
The guest is Andy Richter.
Oh, man.
Delightful fella.
Yeah.
And we hope you enjoy him.
Family trips with the Meyers brothers. Family trips with the Meyers brothers. Here we go.
Yes.
Hello.
Hey, pal.
Hi, fellas.
Nice
How
to
are
see you.
Good to see you guys. Sorry I'm late.
That's
okay.
fine.
I was just telling Samantha, I was on the way to school and got a call that I had forgotten the kids' fucking lunch. So
It's
I
better
had to
than
turn
forgetting
around.
the kids flat out. That's
no, that I couldn't do.
Right.
She's too noisy.
How noisy? How young is this noisy child?
She's going to be 5. I am
Wow,
back in
yeah.
the baby business because
Second round, right?
second round. I'm a fucking LA cliche. Although the only difference is that my wife is like a grown up. She's 48.
Oh
it's
yeah,
like-
that's you've broken out of the cliche with
yeah. But I am like. There's a lot of old dads in LA. And like people online will be like, wait, why do you have a 5-year-old? Aren't you like 60? I'm like, yeah, but it's LA and I'm only 58, God damn it.
I don't know if I mentioned this on the podcast before, but I have a friend who's in a similar situation. And someone gave him a shirt that says "Dad" or "Grandpa."
Yeah.
I
I have not gotten that except from like little kids in her class. There's this one little girl that's just fucking got it out for me who's just like, are you her grandpa? Oh, fuck you. How dare you?
Oh, yeah.
I'm one of the older dads in my boys' class as well.
How old are your kids?
My kids are 8, 6, and 3, and I'm 51. And
Yeah.
my son the other day said, he goes, hey, I think you look good for 50. And I was like, I don't know what to even do with that. I don't know what you thought
Thank
you were.
you.
Yeah, I'm
Thank
like,
you.
all right.
8-year-old.
By the way, how is the second round? Like, do you feel like a completely different parent, or are you cognizant of things you're doing differently that are an improvement?
I am a different parent. Yes. It feels like, in some ways, like pre-grandparenting, because like my older kids are adults. They're 19 and 24, and so it feels like that thing of where you get kids, but you don't have all the sort of like worry of it. And I mean, I'm still her father, but I don't have the worry that I on the playground, I see a 32-year-old dad with a 5-year-old and this 1,000-yard stare. And I just want to tell him it's okay. They're hard to kill, these things, these kids. They stay alive whether you want them to or not. So relax. So I mean, I don't sweat a lot of this stuff. And if she doesn't, it's like feeding her. It's like, well, all right. If she eats a hard-boiled egg and an apple, like, okay, that's kind of a meal, I mean,
Yeah.
It's like, if you can piece it together, it's fine.
Is part of it that your first two turned out to be like good adults, good young adults, and that gives you a bit more confidence to say, all right.
Yes, somewhat. Although, there's still anxiety. In terms of like, how's it going to turn out? I have more anxiety for my older kids.
Right.
Because they're closer to adulthood. They're closer to being out on their own. And I wouldn't want to be 19 or 24 in this particular world, And I also remember what it was like to, my daughter's a freshman in college, and I just remember what that was like.
That's the truth, because I don't remember what it's like to be 5, but
Yes.
I do remember what it was like to be 19, and
it
of course.
sucked.
Yeah.
It sucked. It was not, there was no sort of like salad days. It just fucking sucked,
a lot of my friends, most of my friends, had kids 15 years earlier than me.
Yeah.
And the amount, when I had babies, like little babies, and I wasn't sleeping, and I was saying, oh, why didn't you guys tell me how bad it was? They all told me, it's so much worse when they're out of the house. Like when they're in the world and they would give anything to have them crying in a crib next door. Just to be like, they're here.
I think that's another aspect of it too, is that like, it is much simpler. It's more simple and the stakes are kind of lower. It's like, all right, you're training them they're teething. Okay, they're teething. You're training them to sleep. Okay, yeah. I mean, it's not like,
the sleep training's funny because eventually they're going to figure it out.
Yeah, everybody does.
Some people don't.
Yeah.
Some people
I
don't.
feel like
My
it's
wife's not a
that.
great sleeper, and neither's yours, Suf.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's true. My wife's not a great sleeper.
Yeah, but but still, they can do it on their own.
Yeah. Yes, true.
They don't cry if you leave them alone in a bed.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, as far as I know, I don't know what you guys set
You're
up
right.
is.
You're right, Andy.
Yeah.
So Yorkville, Illinois.
Yes.
But then where is that?
That is about 60 miles straight west of Chicago.
Okay.
But it was it's more sort of been swallowed up by the suburban sprawl of the Chicagoland area, which is what it's called.
Yeah.
Which I never even questioned until like I got out of Chicago, and they're like, "Wait, Chicagoland?" Like, yeah, that's what it's called.
Yeah.
And it used to be a small town, kind of unto itself, a little island out there, like all the little kind of farm islands in Illinois. But now it's, like it's got big box stores and, big strip malls and stuff. But like I remember half the town turned out when we got McDonald's and was there at 6 a.m. when it opened up. It was very exciting to get a McDonald's,
Yeah. Do you have any idea what the population was when you were growing up there?
I want to say like about 7,500, you know? Yeah. I think that was it. I'm not exactly sure. I could be wrong, but I have no idea what it is now.
Yeah.
But I do know that there's more people there now because people, it's not just like into the city and out of the city. Now everybody works everywhere. So it's, there's no sort of like flow of rush hour. It's just at rush hour, it's busy because people are going in all directions.
Yeah.
Right.
There.
It is funny, that Chicagoland thing, that it does stretch 60 miles in some directions because obviously New York is a gigantic city, but I feel like once you get out of New York, you're out of New York.
Oh yeah, I'm amazed at how woodsy it is. Like 5 minutes out of New York, like that was a total surprise to me. I just figured it would be, it would just keep going. Like everything would be Yonkers all the way to Vermont. But
they just build vertically in New York.
Yeah. It helps. And you have 3 other siblings?
I do.
Or 3 siblings?
I have an older brother. Who is 3 years older than me, and then I have a younger brother and sister who are twins, and they're actually they have a different dad, so they're half. They're 9 years younger.
Gotcha. Close with your brother?
Yeah, pretty close. I mean, pretty close. I'm closest to my sister, my younger sister. She's, I don't know. She and I I also too, I was raised by women. I end up talking, I have an easier time talking to women than to men, I think.
You, with a 9-year age gap, when do you believe that there was a time where you're like, oh, I'm close with this person as a friend? Like, that's
adult,
a big difference.
Like it got to be into adulthood because I was, when I think about it, I was gone. I was out of the house at like 21, and they were, they're still whatever. Was that 12? Yeah. Good. Way to go, math brain. They were 12, and so like I didn't like their whole high school years. I didn't really know very much, and they, and they were little kids when I left. So yeah, it was definitely into adulthood, and especially, also then I was on television by that time too. So it was sort of
right.
I mean, I don't know, it just was like it was a good excuse for them to come visit me in New York.
How young were you when you first were on television?
27.
That's amazing. Well, that's how old I was when I started SNL. It's like, I think 27's a good. I think too young is hard.
Yeah.
I think 27's just about right.
I think so too. Yeah. I mean, it's the abuse that you are opening yourself up to, especially in comedy, and I mean, it was different because there is a difference. It's similar, but like you were going on to an already established institution,
100%,
and we were starting out new, and we were like such an easy target. And I read such mean shit about me, and like I've said many times, it's like I never knew there were so many ways to call a person fat until my dream came true and I got on television. Oh, hooray!
And also when you started SNL, the stress is, am I even going to get on?
Yes.
Whereas
it's a different thing. Yeah.
Your stress was that you were on every single night.
Yes.
There was nowhere to hide.
Yes. And is it going to last? Although, honestly, I was old enough to kind of handle it, but I was also still sort of young enough and inexperienced enough, and also possibly just have like a mechanism in my head of compartmentalization that is just a survival mechanism that I learned from dysfunctional childhood, where it was just like, oh, there's all kinds of hostility and weirdness and anxiety and stress because this could all go away and I don't know what the fuck would happen to me if it all went away, but I'm just going to shove that in a box and just show up to work and be like, hey guys, what kind of funny stuff are we doing today?
That's good. That was nice when we built those boxes for ourselves.
Yes. And Conan was very good about not letting us know. Conan and Jeff Ross were not, they were good about not letting us know how bad it was because it was, I think there was even one point we were actually canceled on like a Friday. And so he had to sort of sit with that all weekend. And then Monday they're like, no, all right, we'll give you another couple of weeks. But we were getting renewed like week to week.
I know, it's the craziest. I mean, even when again, it's the same franchise, right? And it was very stressful when I started the show, but I remember running into Conan at Comic-Con, and he's like, how's it going? And I was like, it's not easy. He's like, you think it's not easy for you? And I'm like, oh, right. That's a whole, whole different thing.
You don't want to start with that. Yeah.
Hey, we're going to take a quick break and hear from some of our sponsors.
This episode of Family Trips is brought to you by Nissan. Hey, Poshy.
Yes, Sophie.
Let's talk about some things that never go out of style.
Ooh, I love this game. Like,
pasta.
Bomber jackets.
High-top shoes. Jean jackets.
Baseball hats.
You know what else never goes out of style?
What's that?
Going big. That's why we at Family Trips love partnering with Nissan, because they know that going big never goes out of style, especially when it comes to the 2025 Nissan lineup. And the Nissan vehicle we want to give a huge shout out to today, the all-new Nissan Armada Pro 4X.
No terrain is too tough for the all-new Nissan Armada Pro 4X. It's the most capable Armada ever built. With a new powerful engine, incredible towing capacity, and adventure-ready technology, this is the first Armada to earn the Pro 4X badge.
It's built for the most rugged of terrain thanks to the fact that it's powered by a twin-turbo V6 engine, which means it's ready to give you the freedom to explore further and to propel your adventures to new heights. So thanks again to Nissan for sponsoring this episode of Family Trips. Explore further with the Nissan Armada Pro 4X. Learn more at nissanusa.com. Intelligent four-wheel drive cannot prevent collisions or provide enhanced traction in all conditions. Always monitor traffic and weather conditions. This episode of Family Trips is brought to you by our friends at Maker's Mark. Hey, Poshy.
Yes, Sophie.
I don't have to tell you that we're partnering with Maker's Mark to celebrate spirited women like Margie Samuels.
You definitely do not, because I made the trip to the Maker's Mark Distillery in Loretto, Kentucky.
The same Maker's Mark that Margie was the co-founder of?
Absolutely, that's the one.
And I believe you brought a spirited woman with you.
I did. This trip. Yeah, my wife Mackenzie, who, is one of the strongest, toughest gals I know, and inspires me with her work ethic every day. She, she moved out to California to work at a barn and do some training, and then that barn eventually was going to get sold, and she struck out on her own, and now has this thriving business where she trains people and rides horses, and she works her tail off. It's really something else.
That's also, Margie, shout out, original designer behind the iconic red wax dip.
Yep.
The label and even the Maker's Mark name. You did some dipping while you were there, right, Posh?
I did do some dipping. We were there for a long tour, and we dipped our own bottles, which was very exciting.
You too can celebrate the spirit of women in your life with a free personalized label to go with a bottle of Maker's Mark. Head to makersmarkpersonalized.com and fill in the details in order to create and mail your custom label. Don't forget to grab a bottle of Maker's Mark to go with it. Maker's Mark makes their bourbon carefully. Please enjoy it that way. Maker's Mark Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, 45% alcohol. 2025 Maker's Mark Distillery Incorporated, Loretto, Kentucky. Support for Family Trips comes from Public Rec. Hey, Poshy.
Yes, Sophie.
I know you're a big fan of Public Rec pants.
I really am. They're very comfortable pants. And they look good. That's like, sometimes you sacrifice looks when you dial up the comfort, but that's not the case with Public Rec pants. And I like them so much that I bought a pair for my father-in-law, and then I bought a pair for our father. And just yesterday, he was like, these are the pants you bought me.
Great.
I said, do you like them? He says, I love them. I wear them all the time. And last time we talked about Public Rec pants, I was saying, they almost feel like sweatpants, but they look nicer. But they've got a whole array of pants over at Public Rec, varying degrees of stretch, but all that look great. And moving up to, I think, the sort of the high end is the VIP chinos. VIP standing for
the VIP chinos.
VIP, that stands for very important pants.
And
Soof.
Can you get me in on these? You obviously got to connect over there. Can you get me into this VIP? All right, good.
Yeah, we got a hookup that we'll tell you about later. But those are pants you would feel comfortable wearing to like a wedding. They've got pants that are great to play golf in.
Posh, would you tell me some of the colors they got?
I mean, they're classics: navy, dark olive, stone gray. Not nonsense colors of pants.
Yeah.
You're going to look like an adult when you're wearing these pants. Also, sometimes you want to wear a super comfy pair of pants to like get on an airplane. And
Yes.
sometimes people will wear pajamas. And you know what I think of those people?
You don't care for them.
I do not care for them.
Yeah.
You don't have to look terrible to be comfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You, I think, probably look better than most people on airplanes, Posh.
Yep.
You dress like a pilot.
Yeah, well, that's because I want to get that second bag of pretzels.
Comfortable enough for the couch, sharp enough for the city. For a limited time, you can get 20% off at Public Rec by using code TRIPS at checkout. Just head to publicrec.com, use code TRIPS, and you're all set. Oh, and when they ask how you found them, be sure to mention our show. It really helps us out. Upgrade to Public Rec.
Here we go.
Now, I have a question about when you get half siblings as a 9-year-old. Do you remember your level of excitement or anticipation about that?
Not clearly, although I think I was happy about it. I don't remember being unhappy about it. And I remember because they were twins, and also, too, because there wasn't a lot of room for in our household for like men to be like, I'm gonna watch the game. It was like, fuck that, you're doing dishes, you know.
Yeah.
So from an early age, I was taking care of babies. You know, it was like,
Yeah, I was going to say, were you a babysitter?
absolutely, and
Yeah.
a diaper changer and a kid bather and all of that. So I mean, I've been I started taking care of little kids when I was 9 years old.
Gotcha.
And that's like all of it, like I say, changing diapers, getting them dressed, putting them to bed, waking them up in the morning, getting them ready for school.
Were you good at those things, or was it sort of like, what did you put these kids in today, Andy? Like,
I think I was pretty good at it. I mean,
was your brother much help? Your older brother? Was he doing the same thing? Was everyone sort of called into action?
I mean, and this could just totally be my memory, but it's like, I think I did a lot more, you know, like, but I mean, that could just be because I'm the hero of every story I tell.
Sure.
But I don't, no, we both were expected. And I mean, it was like, we had a lot of chores to do, which like, that's one thing. I was not good at assigning my older kids chores. Like they didn't have to do a lot of chores. And so now they're helpful and they're, but it's like, it's not the same. Like they don't understand just like how much of life is eating shit and doing just like drudgery kind of work, and
it's amazing that no one's created a machine that will fold your laundry.
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
Oh, and folding laundry is the one.
It's the worst.
Like, oh my God. I will clean out a toilet all day compared to fucking folding laundry. I don't know what it is about it. It just, I think I just like I'm like a bear with a violin, like it's like I just, I don't know how to do this,
Also, my wife Alexi, as Josh will attest, very particular about how you fold laundry. So it's not enough just to fold it.
Right.
That's the most heartbreaking thing is when you try to do a solid, you fold the laundry, and then you just watch them refold it. And then you sort of want to say, well, look, I mean, if I'm just going to do it, so you do it again, I feel like I probably just shouldn't do it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's like, and then they will accuse you of a learned helplessness. Like my ex-wife used to do that because like if I fucked up the laundry and, did the classic, put an orange sock in with the white, and it's like, no, I'm not that calculated. I just am, I just have a terribly short attention span.
Yeah.
And, and there probably is some like passive aggressive, like, just throw it all in the wash and then start it and not notice that there's an orange sock in with all the whites.
Yeah.
Was Chicago a early beacon for you? Did you feel the pull to Chicago? Was that a place that you would go with your family from Yorkville?
We wouldn't. Well, first of all, we were too small town, and the city was too scary.
Yeah,
and I was, and so no, we'd go there for, Bears games and Cubs games and occasional museum trips. And then there was a Christmas tradition of getting on the train and going in and going to Marshall Field's, the big department store for Christmas time.
Was that on Michigan Ave?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's still there. It's a Macy's now, but it's this big, beautiful old department store, and they had this giant Christmas tree, and you'd eat lunch underneath it. And my aunt would take me, or my grandma would take me. But yeah, no, it wasn't until I was a teenager and started going to concerts that we actually started to, use the city the way that a city should be used. And even then it was fucking terrifying, and it wasn't until because I started out at University of Illinois, and then I transferred to, I just happened to be wearing Columbia.
I noticed,
Columbia College, Chicago, for film school. And that was when I really started getting to know the city, because I was commuting in to school and then really just kind of wandering around in a way that I had never done before.
Yeah. Would you take the L in? Could you take the L or the Metro?
There's a Burlington Northern. It's a commuter train that you could take in, and that's what I did. I did that a lot, but then I would also drive. My mom had a van for her business that I used to drive.
All right.
And for film school, that makes you very popular.
Yeah, the van is
because there's lots of gear and stuff.
Were you a road trip family? Were you an airplane family when you guys took trips?
We were a little bit of both. A lot of my travel, a lot of like any sort of like vacation travel was like had the underlying sadness of a broken home, because my mom and dad were divorced, and my dad lived in Bloomington, Indiana, and we lived.
How far was that from Yorkville?
It's about. I want to say it's about a 4.5, 5 hour drive.
Okay, so that's no small thing.
Yeah, it's no small thing. But I will say, like, I used to see my dad like twice a year, I think, and I can't imagine being 4 hours away from my kids and only seeing them twice a year.
Yeah,
I will say that.
Nor can I. Yeah.
And
can I ask, did you need to have kids to know that was weird, or were you, as a child, did you think that was strange?
No, I needed to have kids.
Gotcha.
When I had kids, there were a lot of things, and not just, there was a lot of things where I was like, wait a minute. That seems fucked up. Like, what? Wait a minute. Like, you shouldn't.
How old were you when your parents got divorced?
I was, I think 7.
Okay.
I think 7. No, wait. No, I was 4. I was like 4 or 5 because I started kindergarten in Yorkville. So, which was where my grandparents lived, because my mom left Bloomington and went to Yorkville to live with her parents. So we moved back in with my grandparents. And I remember not understanding it at all and like wondering where my dad was. But most of the travel then ended up being either driving halfway to like this town kind of halfway between Bloomington, Indiana and Yorkville, Illinois, like just at a truck stop and doing a swap off at a truck stop, or taking the train, just my brother and I taking the Amtrak from Joliet, Illinois to Bloomington, Indiana, and spending, doing that a lot throughout my childhood.
How young were you, do you think, the first time you took the train by yourself?
Oh, I bet you probably 8,
Wow, so
and my brother
your
was
brother's
11.
Like 11?
Yeah. I think that they were like, I mean, I don't know that I would do that, but it kind of seems like,
I think it makes a lot of sense in that era to be like,
yeah. Well,
in Illinois, Indiana,
the conductor's going to tell you it's time to get off.
Yeah, and it's not an unusual thing. Like, you still do kind of see it, occasionally when you're somewhere,
Yeah.
Although I can't remember the last time I saw a little kid flying alone, which I have seen in my life.
I've seen that, those unaccompanied minors.
Yeah,
It
but
happened. It used to happen more, I think.
Yeah, I think it probably did happen more. But it was. I look at it too. Like my grandmother was born in China. Her parents were missionaries, and she was sent to like boarding school at like age 5 with her 7-year-old brother. They put him on a boat for like a 1-week trip, like up the Yangtze or something. I don't know, you know. So that's like, it is a different thing. You know, people used to mail their kids.
Yeah.
You know, have you seen those pictures on an old book? So like, just put a tag on them and like, how much? 50 cents to go to Cheyenne? Here you go.
That's that's true. They're all too sheltered now. Did you when you were on the train, were you excited? Was that a thing? You were like, oh, we're gonna go see Dad, or did it feel
yes,
more like duty?
I was always very excited to see my dad, and it was really, you know, and I used to when I knew he was coming to get us, because I mean, occasionally he would come all the way up to get us. And when I knew he was coming, I would like be waiting outside in the cold sometimes for him to get there. So definitely there was, I missed having my dad around, and and it definitely was a deficit.
Do you feel like he understood it was incumbent upon him to be like a best dad in the time that he had you guys?
I think that intellectually he would think that, but he didn't.
Wasn't like a 24-hour party once you were hanging out?
No. It was not. It was, I mean, and in fact, he would still, he was an instructor at IU in Russian. He's the Russian language. He taught Russian. But he never finished his PhD work, so he never got on tenure track. So he was always paid less than like a real professor. And so he waited tables on Friday and Saturday nights, and that would be sort of his walking around money. And so that was always, the story was, well, I have to work. I have to do this because I need the money. And, and then that was like another thing when I became an adult, and I was like, well, why didn't you just get your tenure? Like, why didn't, like, because when I was younger, I used to think like, because he had, I didn't want to. It's 7 years of continuous publishing, and I just didn't want it. And I was like, oh, cool. My dad didn't want to write a bunch of papers. Like, Dad, I get it, Dad. And then when I had kids, I was like, wait a minute, I don't get it. I do not get. Wait, if you had just written some papers for 7 years, you would have been, I mean, wealthy. Those guys, like professors, when they in a small town, they make a good living,
Yeah. When your dad was waiting tables, if you were visiting him, would you and your brother hang out at the restaurant?
Yes. We would sometimes, I don't know why this would happen. Like, I think that because I do remember he would have babysitters kind of watch us, but there were times when we would go to the restaurant at the end of his shift and wait for him to get off. And I don't remember like how we got there. Like, I feel like maybe there, like somebody would watch us and then drop us off there, at like 10 or whatever. But I do remember sitting there, and it was a restaurant called Sully's Oaken Bucket. And it had a big old oaken bucket. And in fact, in the movie Breaking Away, you see, because that was shot in Bloomington, Indiana, you see the oaken bucket in one of the scenes downtown, which was very thrilling for us when we were young. But we used to sit there, and it was kind of an Irish, it was like a fancy restaurant, and it was Irish, and they used to play Irish music, and it imprinted on me a distaste for Irish music for the rest of my life. And then, because then living in Chicago too, Irish music was around everywhere, and it was like diddly 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 dee. I still to this day, I'm like, oh my God, so maudlin and all this,
And then when they said you have a chance to work with someone named Conan O'Brien, was your first instinct?
All right. Well, you know what? I mean, he's not,
Yeah.
He's Irish, but it's like everyone's like, oh, Harvard guy. It's like he's not like crowing about going to Harvard. You know,
No.
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
like he's not, it's almost embarrassing because of the way people bring it up. And I think Irishness can be that way to it too. It's like, oh, let's talk about the Emerald Isle. It's like, oh, really? Do we have to?
I will say Sully's Oaken bucket is magnetic to me. I feel very drawn if I was in town and I saw a place called Sully's Oaken bucket.
Oh, yeah.
I would want to go there.
Oh, 100%. If today, I mean, it's not there anymore, but yeah, that would be like, I cannot, like, my wife is used to it, but, and my ex-wife was used to it too, but like just a shitty old diner, I'm like, ooh, I got to go check that place out, like where everyone is 30 years older than me. Oh yeah, I got to go there,
There was a place, there was an Irish bar that I dragged Josh to plenty of times on Hudson called Dublin 6. And it was just like a classic Irish pub. And like it used to be the place that Polar and I would go get drinks, and it became like the SNL bar. And when new people would join the cast, you would be like, oh, meet us here. And I remember Sandberg being like, I thought the bars the SNL people went to would be so much cooler than this. I can't believe, again, he's like, I can't believe you're taking me to a bar where like older people are.
Yeah.
Like we should be on top of the world in New York City, and you're like, oh yeah, no, the best thing, no doorman.
Yeah,
no doorman and a half a block from my apartment.
Yeah, the music isn't like deafening.
Yeah,
you don't have.
You can talk.
You can talk. You can wear whatever you want. No, I never like the notion of standing in line to get into a place where the drinks are too expensive was always insane to me.
And now we're going to take a quick break to hear from one of our sponsors.
Here we go.
Hi, everybody. I'm Seth Meyers.
And I'm Josh Meyers.
And I'm sorry, ma'am. We haven't met.
And you are?
This is our mom, Hillary Meyers. And you might be wondering why we're sitting with our mother on the front steps of a home. Well, we're happy to tell you. We are partnering with Maker's Mark on family trips to celebrate iconic women like the Maker's Mark co-founder, Margie Samuels, in honor of Women's History Month. And let me just say, Mom, you are also iconic to us.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
Key part of our history.
Yeah. And I should say, one of the ways that you're very impressive to us is you weren't just a key part of our lives. As an educator, our mother was a key part of many people's lives. She taught French to middle schoolers who have taken that French to many of Paris's finest bibliotheques.
Yes, indeed. I've heard that.
History is full of stories of women like you, Mom, who challenged the status quo with the idea of making something better. And a lot of us wouldn't be where we are today without the efforts of those amazing women. Margie Samuels is one of those women. She was the original designer behind the iconic red wax dip, the label, and even the Maker's Mark name.
Without the impact of Margie Samuels' vision, Maker's Mark wouldn't be the brand that it is today. She was a pioneer in the whiskey industry who inspired those who worked alongside her and paved the way for those who came after her. Her mark can still be felt on the Maker's Mark that we all know and love today.
And it's really special for us during Women's History Month to be with someone who is the key to our history. And if we could share a few special moments, I remember you were the most supportive audience I could ever have when I was starting our comedy careers. And I remember when I was doing Weekend Update, you and Dad were in the audience one night, and I told a joke. It was not a good joke on Weekend Update. And 280 people in the audience, and the only person who laughed was you. Now, I'm sure that's because you laughed at every joke before and after it. But it was a very piercing realization that you were the only person who liked the joke. And I thought, well, at least I'm the only one who noticed. And then the next day I called Josh, and the first thing he said was, well, at least Mom liked it.
Also, anytime we've ever had any surgery, no matter how minor, I had a small knee thing. Seth had something in Amsterdam, but my mother, you've never missed a single surgery.
Oh, no. If my boys are being cut into, I'm there.
Yeah.
She's there. And she came out to LA once, and I had a very minor knee thing, and she had scheduled 4 days there. I was walking the same day. And then we just hung out for 4 days.
Yeah, which was great.
Yeah.
I think that says a lot about how much you love us and how little you like hanging out with Dad. He's right behind the camera, by the way.
And based on a lot of these things we've said, I think you all understand that we love you so much, and we know a thing or two about the impact that spirited women have had on our world. We are two of the luckiest men I know, and it's only because there is a woman like you in our lives. And we are so excited to be able to raise a glass of Maker's Mark to the woman who made us who we are today. Cheers.
And let me just say, I think Josh is a little bit luckier because he's your favorite.
Oh, don't say that.
Just right. Well, then maybe you should stop thinking it.
Cheers, Mom.
Cheers.
You too can celebrate the spirit of women in your life with a free personalized label to go with a bottle of Maker's Mark. Head to makersmarkpersonalized.com and fill in the details in order to create and mail your custom label. Don't forget to grab a bottle of Maker's Mark to go with it. And Mom, real quick, but without looking at the label, we chose one of your sons who had the best handwriting. Who did we choose?
I think it's you, Seth.
That really speaks to how bad Josh's handwriting is, because it kills her to say me. It kills her to say me. By the way, mine's not even that good.
Here we go.
Do you remember first time you guys were on a plane?
I don't remember, not specifically, but I do know that it would have been to go visit my Aunt Pat, my mom's older sister, who was my favorite person in the whole world, who was really, really fun. And she lived, I think it probably would have been in Atlanta. She lived in Atlanta, and I think we flew down to Atlanta shortly after my mom got remarried. And we drove to her house, and her husband was like some financial guy, and they had this beautiful house kind of in a very woodsy area. And they had a Doberman that wouldn't let us out of the car, because when we got there, my aunt was at the grocery store, and the dog wouldn't let us out of the car, so we had to sit in the car and wait until she got home. And then it's just funny because it's like, I have a big dog now that's the same way, that probably wouldn't let you out of your car if you came to my house. And then the second it's like I get home, she's like, "Oh, hi, guys,"
Yeah.
And so this Doberman, she got home, she's like, "Stop it, cut it out." And then from that point on, the dog was glued to me the entire time that I was there. Like, he just the sweetest
I feel
dog.
like every Midwesterner, or at least 80% of them, have an Aunt Pat with a big dog.
Yes, probably.
Who
that
is their,
dog's
and
name?
that's their favorite. Everybody's got a favorite Aunt Pat.
Or an Uncle Pat with a big dog.
Yeah, that's true. One or the other.
Yeah.
But the other 20% get an Uncle Pat.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're getting a Pat.
Yes,
You're
exactly.
getting a Pat.
So yeah, those were usually the trips. I mean, I can't even, I don't know, like the first flight that I would have had that would have been something that wasn't like to go visit my aunt. And I mean, and those were always kind of like attached. Visiting Pat was always attached to our vacations in some way, except for I did go once. I went once with my grandmother, because as I told you, my grandma was the child of missionaries. And so there's like religious fervor is very deeply runs through these, dour old Swedes. And a lot of them ended up in Canada. A lot of my grandmother's siblings ended up in Canada. And so there was one trip where I went with my grandmother and my great aunt. And I think we were maybe picking her up from a long visit with one of her brothers or sisters in Canada. And we drove up there, and it was just like, even at the age I was, which was probably 5 or 6, like I just was like, this is so boring. Like, we didn't do anything good. We went to Niagara Falls, and there was like, you can walk under the falls and then see like the water coming down. And my grandma was going to take me, and we got down and we put on slickers and boots, that they give you. And we're walking through the tunnel, and she said, "Oh, the vibrations are too much for me. I can't take it. So we turned around and came back. So I never got to get to the behind the waterfalls. And I was saying to her,
She took a 2-day boat to school.
7.
know.
7 just to get out of the.
And I remember saying like, well, "I'll just go look myself." And she's like, "No, you can't. I can't let you do that." And I was like, "It's just, you can see, it's just down there." No. the vibrations, it's too much for me. Like, which it probably just, she probably was just scared,
Yeah.
I haven't thought about it in years, but it's like, yeah, she was just nervous.
Yeah.
Vibrations.
So that your grandparents are a huge part of your upbringing.
Yes.
Gotcha.
My grandmother was. My grandfather was 18 years older than her and died when I was
So he's the
9.
LA cliche.
Yes. Well, no, he was a very sweet man that was like very established in our town, and he had been married to a woman that was a what do you call it? A Christian Scientist.
Okay.
And didn't believe in medicine and stuff, and they had like 3 kids that died. And then she was institutionalized.
Oh my gosh.
And then he met my grandmother, and I actually found in my aunt's stuff a whole like trove of their love letters, which are incredibly tame and typed.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, he kind of, and my
Typing a love letter in that era is really funny because it's
It
like
is
I don't
really
want to get messed up with passionate script.
Right, exactly. And I got the typewriter right here. It'll just be more legible. I might as well clickety clack. But my grandmother at the time too. She had been, and this was a huge scandal. She had been going. Her parents, when they left China, then started to tour the world. And she was left with a sort of spinster cousin in Lincoln, Nebraska. She attended a teacher's college, had an affair with the dashing principal or, head of the teacher's college, got pregnant, wired her, and the guy took off. And her dad came down from Chicago on the train, tracked the guy down, brought him back, made him marry her, and then the next day he was off again. And so he just took her back to Chicago, and she was an unwed mother, with a new little baby, and which was very much a stigma. And and my grandfather, my kindly, wonderful grandfather, that didn't bother him, and so he married her, and and they actually,
did she have more kids? Was that
then she had 4 more kids, or no, 3 more kids. She had 3 more daughters, and because my Uncle Bill is the one, he was the half brother to all of my mom and her 2 sisters.
Gotcha.
Just, it's funny because I think we talk about in this internet age how impossible it is, to disappear.
Yeah.
The fact that before that, your grandfather could track someone down.
Yeah.
Is just it's so impressive.
Yeah. I don't know how, it probably was just like he found out like his brother's got a farm
100%.
10 miles away,
then,
and then went and like, oh, there he is,
Yeah. And then just like grab him by the scruff of his shirt and bring him back and throw him up at an altar.
I'm sure. Or there may have been a gun involved. Who knows,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Huh.
Did they live very close to you in Yorkville?
Oh, we lived with
grandparents?
them. Yeah,
you lived with them. Oh, right,
We
of
lived
course,
with them, until my mom remarried, and then we moved to a city that was it's Aurora, which was 5-6 miles away. And then when my grandfather died, we took over that house, and my grandmother moved into a smaller place. And so that I grew up in the house that pretty much grew up in the house that my great grandfather built the house. So it was our family homestead.
Is
Still
it still in
standing?
the family? Yeah.
It's still there, but it is not in the family. And it just recently, the family we sold it to in I want to say 85, they just sold it. So it just changed hands again.
Yeah. Did any part of you hear that was for sale and we're like, oh, should we buy that house? Or?
No. Okay, there's just nothing, it's like I'm as bad as anyone at looking at these Zillow things of Jefferson, Missouri, a 10-room, beautiful, intact 1912 mansion for $7. And I'm like, but then I'm like, no, I'm not moving to Missouri or Illinois or wherever,
They love when people from LA come because their nice things are cheap. They're so neighborly to that.
Yeah. I'm here because you people don't know the value of things.
Speaking of values, I have some thoughts about equality.
Hey, we're going to take a quick break and hear from some of our sponsors.
Support for family trips comes from Airbnb. Hey, Bashi.
Yes, Uvi.
Some trips are better in an Airbnb. Let me tell you what I liked most about the last trip we took with you and Mom and Dad. We didn't have one bathroom.
Oh, yeah. We had 3 or maybe even 4.
You know what? We had a bathroom situation. Dad was so impressed with the master bathroom that he kept telling us we should go take a shower in his room.
Yeah,
Remember?
which I never did.
I never did. He kept saying, you gotta... It's really good. You know what? When Dad visits us, you know what he does with the kids that Alexi's not crazy about?
What's that?
He lets them eat toothpaste right out of the tube. And so that's why I didn't take a shower at his Airbnb bathroom, is I didn't know if I could resist that sweet, sweet toothpaste snack.
Yeah.
Look, it's really nice. I love our proximity to Mom and Dad when we're with them, but I also enjoy there's a little bit of space that a hotel room does not provide.
And then, it's great to have a living room because a living room is yours and it feels like home and it's not a lobby.
Yeah. Also, Dad is prone to sprawl.
Yeah. He's the original man-spreader.
He's the original man-spreader. If he was getting residuals every time somebody man-spread, the guy would be a billionaire. So it's nice. The way Dad sits on a couch in a lobby, I think would be sort of unbecoming of a gentleman his age. But, get him in an Airbnb living room. Go nuts, Dad.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, sometimes you might, hey, does this Airbnb look as good as it seems to look in the pictures? Why not try a guest favorite? Those are the most loved homes on Airbnb that can give you that extra sense of confidence. Book your next awesome trip today at airbnb.com. Support for family trips comes from Ira Store. Hey, Paji.
Yes, Sufi.
You know when I think people are the most jealous of your head of hair?
When's that?
When you feel the summer coming in. Because, look, Paji, you got that head of hair. You can just see you shaking it back and forth in a Mazda Miata with the top down. On your way to the beach.
Yeah.
And then you get to the beach and you go swimming in the beach and then you come out and you just sort of shake your head back and forth and it's like a sheepdog after a bath. And I think that for those of us who are not blessed the way you were blessed, Ira Store is a very helpful aid to have by your side.
Absolutely. This season you can tackle thinning hair and hair loss with the Ira Store Elite. It is a clinically proven solution designed to help you regrow hair with 282 lasers and LEDs delivering light therapy directly to your scalp. Think of it as like if you look at a picture of Seth and I, and Seth is the before and I'm the after. That's essentially what an Ira Store could do for you.
Yeah, Josh is me Ira Stored. It's the perfect way to take care of your hair, lightweight, hands-free, painless. It works while you relax and prepare for the warmer days ahead, no hassle. Just real results. And now for a limited time only, our listeners get $625. That's a lot of scratch.
That is a lot of scratch.
Off their Ira Store Elite when you use code TRIPS at irastorelaser.com. That's $625 off your Ira Store Elite at irastorelaser.com with promo code TRIPS to get the hair regrowth device you've been waiting for and start feeling like yourself again. You know what I'm getting you for April Fools?
What's that?
I Remove.
Oh.
Yeah, and I'm gonna make it look like an Ira Store, and you're not gonna know that you're just
You're gonna be losing hair.
you're
at a rapid
no
clip.
idea. I guess the problem with this plan is that why would I give you an April Fool's gift? Like I feel like you'll immediately be wary of it.
Yeah.
Best part about Ira Store, they offer a 12-month money-back guarantee, so you can try it risk-free. If your hair doesn't make a glorious return, you get a full refund, no awkward questions, just fabulous hair. or your money back.
So give yourself the gift of hair confidence this spring. For a limited time only, our listeners get $625 off the iRestore Elite when you use code TRIPS at irestorelaser.com. That's $625 off your iRestore Elite at irestorelaser.com with promo code TRIPS. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Hair loss is frustrating. You don't have to fight it alone, thanks to iRestore.
This episode of Family Trips is brought to you by Nissan.
Hey, Sufi.
Yeah, Pashy.
What's that thing I always say about going big and it never going out of style?
Oh, I remember. Going big never goes out of style.
Yeah, that's it. And that's why we at Family Trips love partnering with Nissan, because they know that going big never goes out of style, especially when it comes to the 2025 Nissan lineup.
And the Nissan vehicle we want to give a huge shout out to today, the all-new Nissan Armada Pro 4X.
Sufi, what's that thing I always say about the all-new Nissan Armada Pro 4X?
Pashy, you always say that no terrain is too tough for the all-new Nissan Armada Pro 4X. It's the most capable Armada ever built.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like your catchphrase.
Yeah, I'm known for saying that, and how could I not? With a new powerful engine, incredible towing capacity, and adventure-ready technology, this is the first Armada to earn the Pro 4X badge.
It's built for the most rugged of terrain thanks to the fact that it's powered by a twin-turbo V6 engine, which means it's ready to give you the freedom to explore further and to propel your adventures to new heights.
And my favorite part? The Armada's premium interior seats up to 8 passengers. That means we can bring our 6 best friends with us on our next adventure. Let's name them right now.
And we're out of time. So thanks again to Nissan for sponsoring this episode of Family Trips. Explore further with the Nissan Armada Pro 4X. Learn more at nissanusa.com. Intelligent four-wheel drive cannot prevent collisions or provide enhanced traction in all conditions. Always monitor traffic and weather conditions.
Here we go.
Were you close with your stepfather?
Not really.
Okay.
Not
How
really.
old were you when your mom remarried?
I think 8. Because she had my brother and sister very quickly after that, and they were born in 1976.
Okay,
Gotcha.
Or
And would you do
75,
any like once you had those, younger siblings, would you guys do any like road trips? Would you go to, I feel like it's very Midwestern to go to like the Wisconsin Dells, or you'd go to the Great Lakes, or any kind of.
We didn't do, my mom planned a couple, like I said, we would go visit my aunt.
Right.
And she lived in Atlanta or she lived in Dallas. And so we would go there and just kind of stay near her. But we did a couple of big vacations. Oh, you're reminding me, we went on a driving trip to Mackinac Island in Michigan, which is this beautiful island that doesn't allow cars. And it has this grand old hotel called the Grand Hotel, for Christ's sake.
It's called the Grand Old Hotel.
Yeah, there's it's a big old wooden hotel with a giant, like 200-yard long front porch, and it's really, it's like just a gorgeous little place up in Michigan. They did the movie Somewhere in Time with Christopher Reeves.
Oh, yeah.
Is shot there. It's like a time travel movie. And they were actually shooting it while we were there, so that was very exciting because we got to see Christopher Plummer working on a scene outside. And so we did that, and that was nice. And we did do... Oh yeah, and I am remembering we did a Michigan trip, and with some Wisconsin thrown in there, because we took a ferry across Lake Michigan. We drove up into Michigan. I don't remember exactly where, and then came back across because there's like a lot of touristy things on the shores of the Great Lakes.
Yeah.
And then as you get up into Canada and stuff. But our big family trip that I remember was when my little brother and sister were there, probably about 4 or 5. We took the train from Joliet, Illinois to Oakland and then a bus to San Francisco from Oakland, which is where my Aunt Pat was living again.
Wow. Aunt Pat got around.
Well, her husband,
going to America's
her husband,
capitals.
Her husband,
finance.
with this finance thing would move around, but she loved living in San Francisco and wanted to stay in San Francisco, but it meant that he had to get up super early because when you're a financial guy, you're on New York time.
Yeah.
So, he hated it. But she lived in this beautiful apartment that overlooked the bay, and my brother and I, it was like dirty-minded kid voyeur paradise because you had perfect views into like 12 different apartments, and we stayed up until all hours just watching people. Like there was a couple across the way that they were like this little penthouse kind of structure on top, and they would get home, this guy and his wife, they would get home, and the second they got home they were nude and then just like and would walk around outside like watering plants and stuff nude, which my aunt told me that she would see them all the time because they're right there across the way. And one time she was in the grocery store and was getting something on a shelf and turned and like face to face with them and went, "Oh my God, I'm sorry." Like and scurried away. She's like, I didn't have anything to apologize for except for the fact that I'd seen them nude 3,000 times.
Yeah, why is it on her? If anybody should be apologizing.
Yeah. But yeah, so we got to be peeping toms, which I mean, I know that's bad, but I don't know how you peep someone can.
Yeah.
How you can
they're begging for the peep. I think at that point
honestly,
they might be doing it for the peeps.
And well, they especially, but I mean, but like we were seeing also too, like we saw people having sex, like, and I just feel like I don't. Whenever I lived where I would have sex and someone could see, I would get curtains, Like, I mean, but I'm not saying, I'm not blaming the victim of my voyeurism, but I'm just saying, I mean, it's like how that, because people having sex is always interesting. It's
it is always interesting. I do like that San Francisco fell right into the stereotype of probably what people in the Midwest.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, I almost feel like at the Joliet train station, they were like, let me guess, you're going to go watch people have sex through open windows?
You're going to go see people fornicate? And then we drove down the coast from there, and we stopped like in Carmel, Monterey, area.
How old were you in this one, did you say? I'm sorry?
I think I was about 13, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
13.
What a cool time.
Yeah. And then we drove down the coast, and then we went to L.A., and we went to Universal City, and then we ended up at Disneyland, stayed in the Disneyland hotel, and then flew home. So, that was a big one. That was a big shebang kind of trip that my mom
was the peeping the highlight of that whole trip, do you think?
Yes, the peeping was the highlight. And you know what? And now that you're saying it, there was a point at which we stopped along, like in Monterey, where it's so beautiful, whatever that 27-mile drive or whatever it's called, like the and there was a man standing on the guardrail. We stopped to just take pictures and look at this beautiful vista over the ocean. And there's a man standing, looking down with a camera, taking pictures. And I walked over and looked down. And it's like there was someone nude. There was a woman nude sunbathing down on the beach. They're everywhere.
I feel like this was an incredible disservice to Disneyland, because I feel like for a 13-year-old boy,
yes,
you should have done Disneyland first,
yes,
and then all the naked ladies.
No, honestly, Disneyland was the best part of it. I will say.
Good. Yeah.
We did while waiting at Universal Studios, while waiting in line for the Monster Show. Do you remember they used to do a Monster Show? Like, it was a musical show, but it was like, because all the Universal monsters, it was Frankenstein, the Wolfman, Dracula, and it was a musical show with all the monsters that we had. I was like, there's fucking monsters. I'm going to see it, And we saw a old Japanese tourist man get pickpocketed, and then a white lady grabbed the pickpocket's hand as he was pulling the wallet out and screamed like, "What do you think you're doing?" And the guy went, I don't know, and then pulled his hand away and dropped the wallet and ran away. And the old man seemed very kind of like, it didn't seem like he appreciated because his wallet was fat with bills.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't feel like he appreciated what this woman did for him. And I feel like she didn't feel like he appreciated it either. She's like, he was going to take your money. Oh, okay.
Meanwhile,
Yes,
people,
thank you.
I just think it's a non-confrontational culture. I
Right,
think they're like, yeah.
exactly. It's like, maybe that's what I wanted. Maybe.
Meanwhile, the people in monster suit backstage are gonna be like, "Oh, this is super lame compared to the drama that just happened out there." When you're 13, you're like, "Oh, I love monsters," and then you go see a musical monster show at Universal City. I'm so disappointing.
I don't think so. I don't think I
right.
questioned it that much. I think,
Yeah.
I knew it was corny and stuff, but still I was like into it. Because I will tell you too, at Disneyland on the same trip, there was, we stayed at the Disneyland Hotel, and it's all very different now. I mean, I've taken my kids to Disneyland a million times, and, we still go a lot. But there was like a shopping village by the Disneyland Hotel, and there was a mask store. A store that just sold fancy masks. And there was a werewolf mask that was like, I don't know, $50 or something, which was just not going to happen. That I went in every day and tried on and looked in the mirror and was like, to this day, remember just like, and like trying to tell my mom, like, it just would be so, I mean, I know it's expensive. Like, no, I'm not getting you a $50 werewolf
I'll get
mask.
married in this. It's a mask to
so
get
funny.
married.
Right, exactly.
It's such
It's
a
an
funny thing.
investment.
Yeah, there's no selling point to a parent. It's like, I'll use it every day,
Yeah. Right.
which is a disaster for a parent. Like, they don't want you
Exactly.
using a Wolfman mask every day.
Oh, good. You're going to be that weird kid that always has the werewolf mask.
I have a question because, again, 8, 6, and 3. Andy, what's the right age to bring kids to Disneyland or Disney World?
It all works.
It all works.
It all
Okay.
works. Yeah. Because with the littlest kid, and this is the first time that we took my son, who's now 24, to Disneyland, you start to realize, because your life is defined by how far you can let your child get from you without freaking out, like out in public, And at Disneyland, you can let your kid get like 70 yards away from you because you start to realize everything's baby proof. Like there's no railings that they can get their head stuck in. There's like, they can't fall into open water. You don't have to worry about a car hitting them or something, even like on Main Street. You feel very safe. And you also get such a contact high from them because they can't believe it. And my son, when we took him there, he was probably about 3, I think, 3 or 4 the first time we took him. And he just innately understood these characters in costumes, they need to be hugged. Like he wasn't freaked out. Because I was kind of like, what's he going to think about Mickey Mouse or Pluto? Like I would think, what the fuck is that? And I don't even know that he was that aware of them. And, I don't feel like he'd watched a lot of Mickey Mouse cartoons because they weren't that available then, but he just understood immediately, like, well, that thing needs a hug, and just would walk up and like interrupt other people's photo sessions, like just to go hug Minnie's leg, But then as they get older, they do reach an age, 13-ish, 14-ish, where they will shit all over the idea of going and then go and have fun. And then there will be a span where they don't want to go unless they, and then there's the time, and then they start going with their friends so they can do drugs. I'm assuming,
Yeah, that's
You
one
know.
where you just want like sort of willful ignorance.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean,
If they're not doing drugs, you're wondering why you're still going to Disney.
honestly, it's like I know
you're
when
22.
when I was in my 20s, Disneyland was much better when I was on acid. Much more interesting. The lines were less intolerable.
Again, in the same way that it's baby proof for a child, they're also really safe places to be on acid.
Exactly.
And
Where
they
you
say
know-
that in the literature.
Yeah.
They're
yeah.
like, look, because again, you don't want to be on acid somewhere where there's
Right.
traffic.
Yeah. No, and I love honestly, I've known a lot of like kind of hipster parents who are like, man, I would never. And it's like, what are you talking about? It's like it is literally the happiest place on earth. Like just go. Just
go.
They've been
I think we're
thinking
gonna
about
go.
they've
in
been
April.
thinking about this stuff for 70 years. They've been thinking about how to do this stuff. I'm not thrilled with like all this Star Warsification of it, But then when I think about it, like, it's always been about product. There's always been like some kind of, whatever, Tom Sawyer's Island or whatever that was, that they had Tom Sawyer shit that they were selling, But it is like they turned, like a whole thing being Star Wars. And Star Wars is like, oh, it's all right, but I mean, I don't care that much.
Yeah, more people are looking for the Star Wars merch
I know.
than the Tom Sawyer
exactly.
merch.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Or there's like, all the Marvel stuff now they have all that stuff.
My son says Star Wars, and I feel like he thinks it's more like a rhyme than it.
Star Wars.
It's Star Wars.
I love that.
And we watched the first two together. We finally, and a very sweet thing happened where he was away this weekend on a sleepover with his friends, and he came back and he said, "I have to tell you something. They started watching Return of the Jedi." But I asked them to stop because I said I wanted to watch it with my dad, and they kept watching it until the parents came in, and then I told them, and they finally made him stop, which makes my kid seem so lame that he's like telling kids like I need to watch it with my dad, and then he narcs them out. To the parents.
Right.
But he goes, I did watch the beginning, and I was, I remember Return of the Jedi, and I was like, it's really the beginning's really good, right? When they like save Han. From Jabba the Hutt, and he said the funniest thing. He goes, it was really satisfying. And it was just like an 8-year-old saying that the beginning of Return of the Jedi was satisfying. I was like, you know what? That might be the perfect way to describe
It's
it.
very sad. It had everything I wanted out of
it was vengeful.
Yeah, out of a Star Wars.
It was Star Wars. It was my favorite Star Wars.
Yeah.
Of the Star Wars. Josh is going to be deeply disappointed that of all the things I loop back to, I do want to mention something about Somewhere in Time, the Christopher Reeve movie.
Okay.
Oh, that's all
I think it was the first time I realized just because an actor was in a movie you love doesn't mean you're going to like that movie. Because as a kid who fucking loved Superman,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, Superman.
Christopher Reeve,
And then
yeah.
I begged Mom to let us watch it or let me watch it. And I was just like 20 minutes in realizing this sucks.
Yeah, this is boring.
Superman. What sort of choices are you making?
Yep.
Yeah.
It's true. It's true.
That was where Harrison Ford did us a bunch of solids because Harrison Ford was like the first actor. I feel like he did Star Wars and then everything after was also really good.
Yes. Although he did do some grown-up, like murdery kind of, things.
But I feel like the timeline for me was really good because like by the time he was doing Witness, I was like ready for that.
Yeah. He has been in like a lot of like, just movies where he's running a lot, in danger and running a lot,
Yeah. It's good. He's good. He's a good runner.
Yeah.
This is wonderful. It's always lovely to see you and speak to you.
Thank
and
you.
now, very
Me too.
excited for Josh to ask you our speed round questions.
Oh, all right.
All right, here we go. You can
Pressure's
only
on.
pick one of these. What is your ideal vacation relaxing, adventurous, or educational?
Can I say like relaxing and educational, like a blend?
We let
Or does it have to be
we let
relaxing?
Josh Brolin
If I have
pick
to
two.
I'm going to say relaxing if
Okay,
I have
very
to
good.
pick one. But I do like a little bit of, let's go look at the ruins or the bird sanctuary, that kind of thing.
course.
I enjoy that stuff.
Great. What's your favorite means of transportation?
Helicopter.
Okay. If you could take a vacation with any family, alive or dead, real or fictional, other than your own family, what family would you like to take a family vacation
Oh, you
with?
mean not someone in my family, another family.
Another group.
Oh, wow. Gosh. Probably the Addams family.
Mm.
They would be fun.
Excellent.
No,
Yep.
I mean that's kind of a joke answer, but
You mean Mayor Eric Adams of New York. You'd want to go to Turkey with him first class.
Of course. What else would I have meant? Gosh, I don't know. My own like your own family's enough sort of a combination of joy and work that it's like the idea to have to shoehorn yourself into somebody else's. I don't know.
Well, then we'll ask
family
the next
works.
one will be helpful.
Okay.
Yeah. If you had to be stranded on a desert island with one member of your family, who would it be?
Well, my wife.
Great.
You know, I mean, for sure.
Second one.
Second one
Second
would
wife.
be, yeah.
No, I meant second wife.
Oh, second wife.
Okay, good.
Oh, I thought you meant I get a second
Yeah.
choice. No, definitely
No.
yes.
You get one choice. Yeah.
Yes.
All right, you're from Yorkville, Illinois. Would you recommend Yorkville as a vacation destination?
No, not
Yeah.
really. I don't
Based
think
on what
so.
you said.
Yeah, no.
Seems like a
it is-
perfectly fine place. But
Yes, it is. And
nobody is ever like, you know what? I want to see some suburban sprawl.
Well, actually, it's a
With big box stores.
It's a pretty little town when you get to the downtown of it. It's got a kind of an old, cool downtown, which I actually have. That's the last time I was there, I went to. And it now sort of has this river walk, a few restaurants and bars kind of, it sort of is a nice place to go have an afternoon.
I'll never look
or
down my
evening.
nose at a river walk. I feel like anybody who realizes that people want to be near a river,
Yes.
always.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
whatever body of water,
Yeah.
And then Seth has our final questions.
Andy, have you been to the Grand Canyon?
No.
Do you want to go?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All
I've
right.
seen it from an airplane.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I don't
Doesn't
think,
count.
and I've driven all around it, but I don't think we ever did like it a proper trip. I did this one thing once where, as part of the integration, a Chevy ad for the Conan show, when we were on TBS, I'm making air quotes for you listeners. I drove a some new little Chevy. I think it was called a Sonic, maybe. This little Chevy, I drove it from LA to New York for our week of shows in New York, which really was just like, I think I drove the thing maybe 5 hours. And then the rest of the time there was 3 Teamsters who would swap off and they would drive the car or sleep or drive the like tour bus that me and a writer and a prop guy and then like 2 guys that were like uploading because they were editing and uploading as we were going. And so we had a nonstop kind of itinerary to do different things. Like I stopped at that steakhouse in Amarillo and had the 72-ounce steak, which was one of the most awful excuses for a piece of meat I've ever encountered. But the rest of the time, it was just like me and a writer, Brian McCann, who's one of the funniest people, an old friend of mine from Chicago, just on this tour bus, and me a lot of the time like in my pajamas and a robe because we were doing bits with me in pajamas and a robe, just smoking weed and drinking on the back of this bus as we go across the country and stopping, But we did not stay in a hotel. We went straight through, but we did not do that. We didn't. I think the Grand Canyon was just like out of our route. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
If you were driving to Amarillo to get that steak, then
Yeah.
you're heading a little south.
Are you worried anything you do with your 5-year-old at any point, your older kids will be like, oh, Grand Canyon would have been nice?
No, probably because I'm probably not going to have as much money with this kid as I did with the other ones.
Oh, God. So they're like,
I
know
had,
not to
I
complain.
had regular TV gigs with the other ones. They got all the sweet trips. Whereas You know, although my daughter, my older daughter, who's 19 now, she was such an ADHD handful that we didn't go anywhere on a plane until she was like 11 or 12, just because we're just like, no, we are not, we're not submitting her to, an airplane. I mean, we did go I worked in New Zealand, and my ex-wife and my kids and her mother flew to meet me in New Zealand. But other than that, we were like, no, we're vacationing locally. We're going in the car because she was just so much.
It's good to know. It's good to know the limitations of the children. Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much, Andy. It's always
Thanks,
so nice
guys.
to see you and talk to you.
Thank you. It was really fun to see you guys. And,
thanks.
Hopefully, I'll see you soon in person.
All righty. All right, guys.
All right.
Take
Thanks
care.
a
Bye,
lot.
buddy.
Bye-bye.
Family trips with the Meyers brothers.